We've seen raw material costs going up. We see shortage when it comes to semiconductors and all kind of material supply. So this is something we've been fighting with during the whole first year. We are, of course, facing it also for the second half of the year, and we think it will hurt us during Q3 and Q4. On the other hand, the markets are very strong, and I think we're doing a good way of offsetting a lot of these. And so it is there. It's something we need to work with, but still we're optimistic with the group.
And so, Bjorn, excuse me for having a mantra, an idea where I want to go with this morning, but you've got Riksbank rates, which are essentially zero, or a deposit rate of negative 0.1. You've got SMB rates at negative 0.75. When you speak to your policy maker friends in central banker world, because I'm sure you know them all, do you say to them, this is absolutely, totally inappropriate for a company that is seeing strong markets, 30% plus increase in orders, raw material shortages, and real concern on that front? It just seems that we've got two different worlds going on here. One, the real world that you're inhabiting. The second one that the central bankers are looking at.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that there is an inflation in costs when it comes to all kind of components and raw material. I think everybody is experiencing this. Interest rates are still low, and of course it will be a question how that will be going forward. Either these price increases will go down a little bit in the future, and then you can keep the low interest rate, or of course I think there will be some inflation. But it's pretty clear. I think all companies are lifting prices at the moment, and consumer prices are going up. That's pretty clear.
And producer prices, well, you would have seen the figures across the board, and you've mentioned it already, 7.3% increase in the latest US PPI data as well. You say it's going to abate a little bit as well, but inflation will still remain significantly higher than target rates for central banks, do you think?
You know, I think it's a little bit difficult to, when you also measure inflation rates, there are different things that you are measuring. So, of course, we are, of course, always only dealing with our supplies, all the material that comes into our products. And we need, of course, to offset some of these cost increases with price increases into the market. And that's how the market's been acting during the last 2 quarters. And it will continue doing this during the third quarter. That's pretty clear.
Bjorn, I want to talk a little bit more about the adoption of robotics. So we know companies across the world in every sector we can talk about have effectively put the fast forward button on those digital trends, and some of it in terms of the adoption of technology. What does that mean for the adoption of robotics?
I think the robotic business is seeing an exciting future. That's pretty clear. We need the flexibility that there is, the automation that is needed in the industry. I think when you look at the trends that are coming also from our customers, the interest is becoming bigger. We're also seeing big growth numbers, as you saw in our numbers here, growing around 50%. We have also, as you probably heard yesterday, we made this acquisition also of ABB's, another robot company that we are adding into it. So I think for the robot business, it looks quite exciting going forward.
I want to ask you about new markets as well, because you mentioned in the release that you've started to provide automation for the construction sector. Just walk us through what that looks like.
Yeah, I would say that, traditionally the robot sector has been very strong in the automotive, and that's where the robot business has been built up. Today, there are so many other segments. General industry is enormous big for us. We're seeing in logistics coming up, in electronics, and the latest was the construction industry. So actually using the robots to build parts of houses or other construction places, and then you actually move it together and put it in. So robot is actually coming in. Today you're also seeing combat robots that can act together with people, that they are not not causing any dangers. They can work next to persons, and if you touch one of the robots, they will stop automatically. So the technology is developing, the interest in the marketing is developing, and I think the future looks good for robotics.
I want to also ask you about the various geographies that you service, because we've seen this rolling COVID problem with some parts of the world performing versus others at any given time. And if you look at your numbers in particular around the United States, the growth that you're seeing 39% there, and Europe improving by 33%. What can you tell us about how these regions are growing together at this point and what differences you see between various geographies?
I think there's some different comparison numbers. If you see from China, for instance, China was growing quite a lot already Q2 during last year, and still we see 15% growth during this, and that's quite extraordinary. US was pretty weak during the second quarter last year, and now from this year we've seen a strong pickup, so close to 40%. But also Europe, we see around 20% growth from, of course, low levels, but still very good numbers. So also moving positively sequentially.
Bjorn, you've got a business which is growing an average growth rate of 50% plus, which is the electric car charger business as well. I mean, from Austria to Abu Dhabi, I think you've got a whole host of infrastructure you're building as well. Why would you want to IPO it and put it in a separate entity?
I think this is a clear core business for ABB and will continue to be in the future. What we're actually doing is making an IPO of part of the company. We're actually creating what we call a growth vehicles, meaning that this business is today actually valued on a much higher multiples than a company like ABB today. So we are visualizing this. We are creating a company that can be able to grow. We can acquire companies on higher multiples without being penalized for that. But you can also even use your shares for buying companies in the future. So we see very strong growth. The first half year, we are over 100% growth in this business. So it's really taking off at the moment. This will be super important for ABB also in the future, and we will keep the control over this company.